In the headlines of this hour on VTV News, Vietnam and Belgium strengthen cooperation across multiple sectors. Later on, global markets varied reactions ahead of U.S. tariff deadlines. And in a world news, efforts to rescue victims of the Myanmar earthquakes still underway.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good morning. It is currently 8 a.m. local time and you're tuning in to 30 minutes of VTV News. I'm Didin Lei with the latest updates. Vietnam's Politburo and Secretariat convened on Tuesday for a thematic session on science, technology, innovation, and national digital transformation. Party General Secretary Tô Lâm, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính, National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn, and Politburo and Secretariat members attended the meeting.
During the meeting, Politburo and Secretariat members provided feedback to refine a specialized report on scientific, technological, innovation, and national digital transformation breakthroughs. Party General Secretary Tô Lâm stressed that advancing science, technology, innovation, and digital transformation is an imperative choice, the only viable path to national development and improved living standards.
We have two objectives. First, to enhance social governance. Second, to integrate science, technology, and innovation into production, increasing labor productivity and material wealth while reducing human effort. However, our application of these advancements in production and business remains limited. Moving forward, we must intensify these efforts. To simplify these concepts, science and technology involve creating ideas. Innovation is the research process that brings ideas into reality. Digital transformation is the application, deploying science, technology, and innovation into practical use.
The party chief also directed the Party Central Committee's office, the standing body of the Central Steering Committee on Science, Technology, Innovation, and Digital Transformation, to incorporate feedback from Politburo and Secretariat members to finalize the report for the 11th plenary. He emphasized the need to integrate global science, technology, innovation, and digital transformation trends while outlining concrete solutions to effectively implement Resolution 57.
State President Lương Cương and his spouse Nguyễn Thị Minh Nguyệt hosted a welcome ceremony on Tuesday morning for King Philippe and Queen Mathilde of Belgium during their official visit to Vietnam. More to follow.
Welcoming King Philippe on his first state visit to Vietnam since the establishment of diplomatic ties in 1973, State President Lương Cương described the trip as a historic milestone, marking a new chapter in bilateral relations. King Philippe reaffirmed Belgium's recognition of Vietnam's strategic role in Asia-Pacific. He emphasized Belgium's commitment to expanding cooperation in areas where both countries share strengths and potential. The two leaders discussed key cooperation initiatives to deepen the Vietnam-Belgium relationship. These include enhancing high-level exchanges across multiple channels: party, state, government, and parliament, optimizing existing bilateral cooperation mechanisms, and exploring new frameworks to advance sectoral collaboration. They also pledged to strengthen coordination in multilateral forums, particularly within ASEAN-EU relations, the Francophone community, and the United Nations. State President Lương Cương urged Belgium to expedite the ratification of the EU-Vietnam Investment Protection Agreement, EVA, to ensure fair, mutually beneficial investment opportunities. He also encouraged Belgian enterprises to expand investments in Vietnam, particularly in high-tech sectors, renewable energy, digital transformation, and strategic infrastructure. Additionally, he called on Belgium to advocate for the European Commission's removal of the yellow card on Vietnamese seafood exports. In response, King Philippe expressed support for increased Belgian business participation in Vietnam's wastewater treatment, energy, and rare mineral extraction industries.
The state visit of King Philippe and Queen Mathilde of Belgium marks a historic milestone. It is the first head of state visit between the two nations since the establishment of diplomatic ties in 1973. Party General Secretary Theo, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính, and National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn held talks with King Philippe.
During the meeting with King Philippe, Party General Secretary Theo expressed appreciation for the King and Queen's contributions to bilateral ties. He emphasized the need to deepen cooperation in trade, investment, agriculture, high-tech industries, and innovation. He also urged Belgium to facilitate travel and business exchanges between citizens of both countries. Both sides agreed to strengthen high-level exchanges, maximize existing bilateral cooperation mechanisms, and expand collaboration in education, defense, security, renewable energy, and post-war recovery efforts.
During the meeting with King Philippe and Queen Mathilde of Belgium, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính recalled the positive outcomes of his official visit to Belgium in December 2022. He expressed confidence that King Philippe's visit would provide further impetus for strengthening the Vietnam-Belgium partnership. The two leaders agreed on enhancing cooperation in key areas such as trade, education, healthcare, port infrastructure, culture, and tourism. They also underscored the need to implement the strategic agricultural partnership effectively, particularly in tackling non-traditional challenges like climate change, natural disasters, and pandemics. Looking ahead, the Prime Minister proposed deeper cooperation in high technology, innovation, circular economy development, green energy, strategic infrastructure, and human resource training.
National Assembly Chair Trần Thanh Mẫn emphasized the growing ties between Vietnam and Belgium, particularly in parliamentary cooperation. He also welcomed the signing of a Vietnam-Belgium Parliamentary Cooperation Agreement and pledged Vietnam's active implementation of the deal. King Philippe reaffirmed Belgium's commitment to deepening cooperation in high-tech industries, semiconductors, green energy, precision engineering, and sustainable agriculture. He further stated that Belgium is close to completing its ratification of the EVPA and acknowledged Vietnam's request for Belgium to urge the European Commission to lift the yellow card on Vietnam's seafood exports.
National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn, his spouse, and a high-ranking delegation left on Tuesday for the 150th Inter-Parliamentary Union, or IPU, Assembly, with official visits to Uzbekistan and Armenia. The visit highlights Vietnam's proactive role in parliamentary diplomacy and its commitment to sharing development experiences. It also marks the highest-level visit to these countries since the establishment of diplomatic ties, reinforcing Vietnam's focus on strengthening relations and enhancing cooperation with its global partners. Coming up next on VTV News, global markets varied reactions ahead of U.S. tariff deadline. And later on, efforts to rescue victims of the Myanmar earthquake still underway. Welcome back to VTV News Live. Now moving on to what global markets are capturing attention right now. The White House will announce a new round of reciprocal levies on Wednesday. A day before the announced release, the global financial market was still in the dark about what potential effects the plan would produce. More to follow.
Global stocks rebounded Tuesday as investors cautiously counted down to President Trump's rollout of sweeping new reciprocal tariffs. The S&P 500 gained 0.55% on Monday, ending March near its lows of the year. All major European sectors advanced, led by the defensive healthcare stocks rising 1%. The Pan-European Stoxx 600 index gained 0.7% in earlier sessions. Asian stock markets recorded slight gains, although the sentiment remained cautious ahead of the impending U.S. reciprocal tariffs.
At the same time, the European Union (EU)
is aiming for greater economic self-reliance, according to European Central Bank, ECB, President Christine Lagarde. The ECB estimates that the US-driven trade war could cut Eurozone economic growth by 0.3% in the first year, with losses potentially rising to 0.5% if the EU implements retaliatory measures. In response, the European Commission plans to impose tariffs on approximately $28 billion worth of US goods by mid-April. The EU's countermeasures will target American steel, aluminium, textiles, household goods, and agricultural products.
Vietnam has implemented new preferential import tariffs on various goods, including automobiles, timber, ethanol, food, and fuel. This timely Decree 37 adjustment aims to ensure fair trade between partners and improve Vietnam's trade balance.
This enterprise imported over 150 tons of corn and 61 tons of soybean meals last year for animal feed production. Under Decree 73, the tariff on corn was lowered from 2% to 0%, while the tariff on soybean meals was also reduced to 0%.
These changes are particularly timely as the livestock industry faces financial difficulties. They will help reduce production costs.
Following the decree's issuance, the authorities swiftly communicated the updated tax policies to local businesses in Hue Minh province.
The tariff reductions mainly focus on three key categories: automobiles, raw materials, and agricultural-related goods. These essential imports have long entered Vietnam, and the adjustments ensure a balanced reduction across different sectors.
Lower import duties are expected to have minimal effects, especially when the economy sustains growth and domestic consumer confidence remains high.
The revised tax policy also aims to maintain reasonable tariff levels among Vietnam's strategic trade partners.
These adjustments will help realign trade balances for countries already benefiting from preferential tax rates, ensuring fair benefits for all parties.
The government's decree is a great driving force. We hope the U.S. will assess these changes fairly to prevent countermeasures such as retaliatory tariffs on Vietnamese wood products.
These tax adjustments reflect Vietnam's flexible approach to maintaining trade balances amid global economic fluctuations. However, measures should be in place to protect local industries, particularly farmers, from increased competition due to cheaper imports.
Depleting resources, declining orders, and rising costs, these market challenges require the billion-dollar seafood industry to rethink its approach for a more proactive, effective, and sustainable future. In the Mekong Delta, many businesses are already developing long-term strategies to maintain their growth momentum.
Every month, this factory exports around 30 containers, totaling over 750 tons of various seafood products. Enhancing deep processing is the company's top priority in response to raw material shortages.
Marinated and deeply processed products give the factory a significant advantage in dealing with demanding markets.
Each year, seafood exports generate over $10 billion. However, this figure is declining as farming practices remain unsustainable and factories continue to struggle with unstable raw material supplies.
Export value may increase, but if only a few factories succeed while farmers struggle, supply won't meet demand, and farmers will lose their source of income.
According to industry experts, establishing a national seafood data center should be a priority. This platform would provide real-time updates on policies, market trends, and industry developments, helping farmers and businesses make informed decisions in production, procurement, processing, and exports.
China will issue 520 billion yuan, or about $71.6 billion of special treasury bonds to support large state-owned commercial banks replenishing their core Tier 1 capital. The capital injection will be carried out prudently to support the Bank of China, the China Construction Bank, the Bank of Communications, and the Postal Savings Bank of China. The capital support is expected to provide further consolidation and enhance the bank's capacity for sound operations, promote high-quality bank development, and deliver greater value and long-term stable returns for investors. The whole world is looking to Myanmar as it becomes the site for a devastating earthquake. Vietnam's rescue forces, meanwhile, continued urgent search and recovery operations in Myanmar on Tuesday, despite ongoing tremors in the area caused by aftershocks. After 2 days of intensive work, the Vietnamese team has recovered the bodies of 5 victims from the rubble.
The Vietnam People's Army rescue team retrieved another victim trapped under the rubble at 11 a.m. on Tuesday and handed the body over to the family. Earlier, they had pinpointed the exact location of another victim.
Our first responders, including 3 teams from the Ministry of National Defense and 1 team from the Ministry of Public Security, are doing everything in their power to locate the victims and mitigate the devastating loss of the Myanmar people.
By noon, a task force from Vietnam's Ministry of Public Security deployed concrete cutting drills and radar detection technology to locate another victim from the wreckage, this time a 14-year-old local boy. The rescue operation was carried out with urgency and precision.
We use lightweight cutting drills to prevent further structural collapse and avoid injuries for those trapped underneath.
During debris clearance and on-site inspections, the team identified the location of another victim, who was expected to be recovered later the same day. In addition to rescue efforts, Vietnam's response teams have provided nearly 3 tons of medicine, medical supplies, and food to Myanmar.
More than 72 hours have passed since a 7.7 magnitude earthquake in Myanmar collapsed a 30-story unfinished building in Bangkok, Thailand on March the 28th. The disaster has claimed at least 19 lives, with 74 people still missing. As the critical survival window closes, families of the victims are clinging to hope for a miracle amid the rubble.
Rescue teams in Bangkok have been sifting through the wreckage in search of survivors for over 3 days. Among the confirmed casualties, 13 were at the construction site when the earthquake struck. Despite the grim odds, families of the missing refused to leave, determined to wait for news.
We must stay strong. We cannot break down because we are still waiting for our children.
The rescue teams are doing everything they can. I see it. No matter what happens, we have to accept it.
Thailand's urban search and rescue teams and rescue dog units continue their mission without rest.
Today, we're bringing our rescue dogs to meet the victims' families, just as we did in Turkey. We believe these dogs can offer them some comfort, even if only a little. A small solace is better than none. We will keep going until we are told to stop. Deep down, we believe there are still survivors waiting beneath the rubble. We won't abandon them.
Despite the fading chances of survival, the rescue teams refuse to give up. As time runs out, families continue to hold on to hope, praying for a miracle in the aftermath of devastation.
Coming up next on VTV News. SpaceX launches first ever human space flight mission around Earth's poles. And Ching Kong-sun's music, The Desire for Peace. Moving on to other important updates, SpaceX launched the first of its kind human spaceflight on Monday to circle Earth over its poles, a novel trajectory no humans have traveled. The private Frame 2 missions lifted up atop a Falcon 9 rocket, sending the Crew Dragon capsule Resilience into a polar orbit. The 4 private astronauts on board the Crew Dragon set out for a free-flying mission for 3 to 5 days, during which they will participate in 22 crucial research experiments. These largely centered on how spaceflight and microgravity affect the human body.
The first ever human spaceflight mission to cover the pole.
In other types of flight, the first international flight from Taipei, Taiwan, China, with 38 passengers on board, arrived at the Donghe Airport in the central province of Guangdong on Tuesday. The flight, operated by Vietjet Air, departed Taipei at 4:40 p.m. and landed in Donghe at 7:40 p.m. earlier, another flight operated by Vietnam's carrier Vietjet Air carrying 90 passengers took off at the Dong Hoi International Airport at 12:40 p.m. and landed at the Taipei International Airport at 3:40 p.m. This marks a significant step in establishing international flights to and from Dong Hoi Airport. Dong Hoi Airport is one of the 3 domestic airports in Vietnam authorized to process electronic visas for foreigners entering and exiting the country. Phie province announced the Prime Minister's decision to recognize the Cala Ba Mountain relief as a national treasure at this morning's special ceremony. The Cala Nui Ba sculpture is a unique artifact discovered during excavations at the Ba Mountain relic Phie in 1993. It was found along with the foundation remnants of a Champa temple tower. The Cala Nui Ba sculpture belongs to the Tháp Mẫm sculpture art style. The sculpture is currently on display at the Phie Museum. The creative world in Vietnam is becoming more inclusive of people with disabilities. That is especially true in the field of painting, where many deaf artists have found a way to express themselves. One example is the young female artist Dương Linh Dan, who has overcome many obstacles to create amazing works of art. Through painting, she is able to connect with the world around her. Dương Linh Dan's artistic expressions extends beyond lacquer to include oil, gouache, and various other mediums. Notably, her piece, Zhao Duyên, represents a significant breakthrough in her creative journey. This work was showcased in Singapore in April 2024.
The inspiration for my work comes from the beauty of Vietnamese outside, especially the costume worn by Bắc Ninh Quan họ singers. Scraps of fabric that might be discarded in daily life through the eyes of an artist can be transformed into works of art. I believe this is a meaningful project, contributing to both environmental conservation and creative expression.
She developed a love for drawing at the age of 2. When she was around 4 years old, it was discovered that she had a slight hearing loss, and further tests confirmed that she was deaf.
As a deaf artist, Dương Linh Dan has never viewed it as a barrier. Rather than being limited by challenges, she transforms every obstacle into a source of inspiration.
My biggest goal is to hold a solo exhibition before turning 30. I hope to bring my work closer to the public and in the future take on projects related to public art.
Art enthusiasts should look forward to Dương Linh Dan's upcoming exhibition, which will showcase works created through the passion and dedication of this promising young artist. The song Huế Saigon Hanoi is one of the famous songs penned by musician Trịnh Công Sơn. It affirms a unified Vietnam. In a letter to an American artist, he once wrote, "The desire for peace, for love, and for happiness is what Vietnamese people need more than anyone else in this life." That desire created a strong vitality for the works of musician Trịnh Công Sơn.
Trinca Tea Room is a small corner for treat music lovers in the heart of Hanoi. Everyone gathers to prepare for this music night, where many famous anti-war songs will be sung.
Born after the war, I didn't know how fierce the war was. This song has made me appreciate our lives today.
Writing about fate and condemning war, Trịnh Công Sơn lyrics are each a passionate voice for his homeland.
The works carry the aspiration for a peaceful life. During those years, they had a lot of value, and that value remains until now.
In the late 1960s, when the war against America entered a fierce phase, the Sing for My Compatriots movement was born. This movement contributed to awakening the will and enthusiasm of an entire generation of Vietnamese youth at that time. A series of songs were born, including What Do We See Tonight?, Huế, Saigon, Hanoi, and The Great Circle of Vietnam.
The song is special because it was born during a time of war. Trịnh Công Sơn immersed himself in life and wrote the song with love for the country.
On April 30th, 1975, in the boundless happiness of the country's unity, musician Trinh Khăm Sơn came to Saigon Radio to sing The Great Circle of Vietnam. From that day, the song became a melody that would endure through the years.
Up next, let's have a look at the weather forecast for Vietnam and other locations in the world. And that's all that we have for this hour on VTV News. To rewatch our program, you can visit our website or YouTube channel or download a mobile app VTVgo for more. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.